Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Obvious Choice podcast. I'm here with Amber and with Ren, up to our usual foolishness. Today, the topic is about being valuable and being valuable in the eyes of your customers. Because just doing something doesn't make it valuable, and just being someone doesn't make you valued. In your own head, the value that you provide might be obvious, but less so for others. How your product or service works doesn't matter. What your thing does doesn't matter. What matters is what somebody wants to become as a result of what you do. And everybody's wants are different. So I want to start this with an analogy with a phone. So if a phone company promotes that you get 5 gigabytes of data as opposed to 7, do you actually know what that means? Like, think for a minute about what your phone does. You press a button, a signal shoots down from friggin' outer space. Your phone catches that signal somehow and translate it at the friggin' speed of light into random facts like who hit the walk-off home run for the Toronto Blue Jays in the 1993 World Series, touch 'em all, Joe, to videos of pandas eating bamboo, which, by the way, are very fun to watch. Nobody understands how this all happens. We can recreate it, we can describe it, but we don't really get it. It's literally magic. And still, nobody's excited about their phone bill. What's exciting is meeting your soulmate on a dating app. What's exciting is making a pregnancy announcement in your family's group chat. What's exciting is showing off the turtle that you found at Playa Patscarito or remote black sand beach in Mexico on social media. Most people promote what they do as if it's an itemized phone bill, don't they? Sounds something like this. When you sign up for Jonathan Goodman's fabulous and fantabulous coaching for people who want strong bodies and stuff, JGFFCPWWSBS, you get 3 calls with me spread out every 2 months. You get an update to your plan every 2 weeks. You get access to my private community. And my friend, yes, that's not all. You also get fitness programming. Now, I know what you're thinking. Awesome coaching company name and super sweet acronym. Thank you for that. But also, the above list of features isn't very compelling. And so things like gigabytes is a feature. Talking to a girl you're into is the benefit. Features are logical, they speak to the head. Benefits are emotional, they speak to the heart. Emotion drives action, logic justifies it. You only should discuss features if they're connected to benefits. So then what are the benefits? There's actually 10 categories of benefits that drive action. And those are love, health, security, salvation, self-regard, independence, financial stability, sex or sexual fulfillment, community and peer recognition, or any combination of beauty, desirability, personal attractiveness. Once I meet my soulmate, I'll get love, we think. Once I tell my family we're having a baby, I'll improve my self-regard, we predict. Once I post about my vacation, I'll gain peer recognition, we assume. Now, the words we use might be different, but the idea doesn't differ. Pellicase has sold more than 1 million compostable phone cases. They cost $55 to $65 each. That sounds crazy when you consider that a simple search on Amazon results in hundreds of cases selling for $10 to $15. But it's not crazy at all when you consider what Pellicase is actually selling. They're selling phone protection, sure, whatever. But what they're really selling is self-regard. A phone case is something we interact with every day and something others we interact with see. To somebody concerned about the environment, a cheap plastic case says, I don't care about the environment. While a compostable case says, I'm part of the solution. An extra $40 for daily self-regard actually is a great deal when you think about it. Charles Revlon, he founded Revlon. He was famously claimed to have said, in the factory we make cosmetics, in the drugstore we sell hope. Revlon doesn't sell makeup. What they sell is a new you. You got to sell them what they want and give them what they need. they need your product or service. They want the results of it. So first, let's learn how to figure out what matters to others you want to sell to. Next, we're going to discuss the most common mistake in marketing communication. I call it the bed and nails paradox. And finally, I'll equip you with a small word change that makes a big difference in how you're valued by others. And Amber, anything you want to mention before we dig in?
Yeah, I think I mentioned on the last episode, I don't like it when you yell. And you yelled again, and
But it was such a good acronym.
Yeah, it was a hell of an acronym, John. But
yeah,
you yelled, and it just makes me uncomfortable.
JGFFCPWWSVS. It's gonna make a damn good logo.
Like trying to talk when you're drunk, blackout drunk. It makes me think a little bit about your buddy Jonah Berger, his book Magic Words, and how like a lot of the stuff is all about identity, like you're saying, right? Like how do we? He talked about the litter bug campaign in Texas, right? So they wanted people to stop littering. And so they ran a campaign instead of saying, don't litter because you're stupid. It's don't be a litter bug, because people don't want to be associated with that. Or if you're talking to your kids, say, can you be a helper? And it dramatically increases the odds of them doing the thing or not doing the thing you don't want them to do.
Yeah. What was the thing he said? He's like, people want to be the noun, not the verb. And they want to, instead of saying to Calvin, like, hey man, clean up. Calvin, clean up. Calvin, you need to help clean up. It's like, oh, Calvin, do you want to be a helper today?
Mm-hmm.
It was that difference. I definitely use that with Calvin. It works some of the time. I think he wised up to it pretty quickly. But it completely has to do with identity and how we want to be viewed, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The benefits is important. We've talked a lot about that. I feel like as a person who earns money through sales, over the last year, I've gotten much better I've curtailed my enrollment call to only speak about benefits now. And I almost never talk about features anymore. Like not ever.
I mean, you can talk about features, but only as they support the main benefits, right? Like if you know what somebody really, really wants deep down, you can use your feature to talk about how you're going to help them achieve the benefit, but you shouldn't just talk about your feature.
Absolutely.
And I get into that a little bit later on, but yeah.
Get into it,
and you shouldn't try to do too much either, because you really can't talk about too many things. Again, we'll get into that. That's the bed and nails paradox. I'm very, very happy with that name and that analogy. You'll see that in a bit. It comes down to, there was a, this is what's going to get us all canceled, so it's been a good run, everybody. But many years ago, Donald Trump made a statement where he said, I could walk in the middle of Times Square and shoot somebody and nobody would say anything. And he's probably right.
Yeah.
What he's figured out is that if you just do one thing, and so what did he do from a persuasion standpoint is he dialed in on one thing to destroy his enemy. In that case, it was Hillary Clinton, right? Crooked Hillary's emails. It was all about the emails. It was one thing. That was it. Whereas what his opponents did is they tried every time that Trump did something stupid, and he made sure to make it known that he was doing things that other people thought was stupid. I think it was very purposeful. I think that he even leaked a lot of it himself, most likely, because he understood that if there's so many things, nobody focuses on any one thing. And the impact of everything then becomes diffused. And that's, his entire campaign, there was a book called Win Bigly by Scott Adams that was written about his entire campaign. It was the persuasion and the marketing of it. His entire campaign was the most fascinating marketing case study I've ever seen. Whether you like him or not, even if you love him, great. If you hate him and loathe him, also great. Study his marketing campaign. It is, in my opinion, the most fascinating, the most useful real life marketing case study I have ever come across. I was able to disconnect from it because I'm Canadian, and whatever happens over there for you guys is just entertainment for me. But, not to say that we're not affected by it, but it's mostly entertainment. But it was just really, really interesting. I did not mention anything about Trump in the book because there's just some battles I want to fight and some battles I don't want to fight. And even if you mention it with like that well-rounded view of just like, look, I don't have any opinions. I don't give a shit. Like, you like him, you don't like him. Like, it's entertainment for me. John. You're going to get people. But like, here's something from his campaign that was interesting marketing. Like, you're going to get people just viscerally responding. And I just didn't want any. I mean, it's just not worth it to me.
It's another great indication of it's another great indication of how successful the marketing was, though. That this is a human that you are not allowed to be neutral about, right? How great was that? Like a lot of us in business for self can take a lot of numbers, like lean in, man. Whatever you are, whoever you are, just freaking lean in. That's a great lesson.
So let's say you want to drill a hole in your wall.
I do.
How's that for a segue? I'm a contractor, and you found my phone number online, and you called me, and probably others, right, asking for help. You wouldn't actually ask me, because I'm embarrassingly useless with tools. So let's say you asked Allison, my wife, who's super handy around the house. It's not why I married her, but it's a distinct benefit. So let's say you called me and I'm the one talking to you about the job, but my wife is going to be the one who's going to do the handiwork. But I happen to be the one talking to you about it, which is super convoluted. But anyway, we're talking about a hole. Okay. So on the phone, right, I'd ask you why you wanted the hole because there's lots of types of holes that we can make. And maybe you tell me that you want to hang a shelf. Sure. It's a reasonable reason for the hole. I'd ask you what you wanted to put on the shelf. Maybe you tell me that you want to put a picture of your grandfather and his urn on it. You say that you loved him as a kid. You wanted to remember him and all the happy memories that you had together. You don't want a hole. You want to remember your grandfather. Other contractors could drill you a hole. I'm the only one who knows why you want it. And this is why asking questions and listening is how you make your business. Drum roll, please. The obvious choice.
Nice.
We need a drum roll. I know. Thank you. There's the poet M. Scott Peck. One of the things he wrote, a quote that I really love of his, is, "You cannot truly listen to anyone and do anything else at the same time." It's rare to listen to somebody in totality, says Julian Treasure, who's a sound and communication expert. He said, giving somebody your full attention is the greatest gift you can give to another person. You got to listen with curiosity. Your intent is to understand. It is not to reply or impress. A really useful 4-step framework for active listening also comes from Julian Treasure. It's called RAZA. If you're familiar with the Online Trainer Academy, you're familiar with this framework. The O stands for receive. Effective listening means facing the other person and having eye contact. You give them your full attention. The A stands for appreciate. As they speak, show you're paying attention with affirmatory actions and noises. You got to nod your head, smile, add little noises like wow, like where appropriate. Ren does that a lot on this podcast, and it's super helpful for me as I'm speaking. And it also, I would think, you like reflect upon, if you've listened to a lot of episodes, came across somebody who shared a slide from the like Spotify Wrapped who'd listened to 95 hours of our podcast last year. And awesome, wonderful, super cool. Feel sorry for you. But, if you've listened to a bunch of this podcast, think about what makes it, it's like you're overhearing a conversation versus you're getting spoken at. And even though it's me speaking a lot of the time, and a lot of that is because of these little nods of appreciation that Ren really adds in. It seems small, but it is a major aspect of communication, active listening. The S stands for summarize. Once they're done speaking, transition to the next part of the conversation with the word so and summarize what they said. So is kind of a magic word in communication because what so does is so closes off one part of the conversation and allows you to transition into the next part of the conversation. Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is boom, 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 right? The word so is really, really a magical little word as you're speaking. Ask is what the A stands for. Avoid closed questions with possible agendas like, does this need to be strong enough to hold books? Right? It's not a very effective question because you are assuming some sort of solution and it's very closed off. Instead, rely on open-ended questions like, what are you wanting to put on the shelf? So again, that's RASA. It goes receive, appreciate, summarize, ask. Malcolm Gladwell, in his book Blink, said, people don't sue doctors that they like. Dissatisfaction leading to litigation is never solely the result of bad medical care. It's assumed bad medical care because of bad patient care. Customer satisfaction is the result of 3 factors, okay? 1 is how important they're made to feel. 2 is if it worked according to their definition of a good result, not yours. It's a super important corollary. And number 3 is if they felt supported throughout. Surgeons who had never been sued spent more than 3 minutes on average longer with each patient. They were also better listeners, displaying what patients described as more humor and a better tone to the doctor's voice, which demonstrated genuine concern for their welfare. Finally, the surgeons who were never sued were more likely to encourage questions and engage in active listening. But this is the craziest part to me. There was a psychologist, Nalina Ambati, and she was actually able to accurately predict which surgeon got sued without hearing any words. She developed this technique called thin slicing that actually removed all the high frequency sounds from the recordings. And so all that was left was the intonation, the pitch, and the rhythm. I'm going to repeat that. You could not hear what they were saying. You could just hear how they were saying it. If the surgeon's voice was judged to be dominant, the odds were better that they were in the sued group. And if the surgeon's voice was judged to demonstrate warmth, they tended to be in the non-sued group. The judges knew nothing about the surgeon's experience, training, or what procedure was performed. They didn't even hear the words that the surgeon said to their patient. And so this is what Gladwell said at the end of that. He said, in the end, it comes down to a matter of respect, and the simplest way that respect gets communicated is through tone of voice, and the most corrosive tone of voice that a doctor can assume is a dominant one. Yes, your experience matters. So does the quality of your product and service, but how a person feels they're treated by you is what matters more. Amber, what do you think about that? You're the customer service queen.
Yeah, I mean, in all of the random jobs that I've ever had, everything from customer service to making sandwiches at Potbelly's to, being a personal trainer and doing what I do now, 100% that's true. I mean, I've had people come in just super hot, and as soon as I've treated them with empathy and curiosity and making them feel important and valid, it just sucks all of the heat out of the situation.
It's like, wait, this isn't a fight?
No, exactly.
Like, no, we're on the same team.
100%. And that's what it is that's how you have to treat it. Is it's not, you're not fighting each other. You're both trying to figure out, how do we fix this situation? But that's not what people are used to. So based on past experiences, they come in pissed off because they assume that if they act that way, they'll get what they want. And so a lot of businesses have accidentally trained customers to act inappropriately to get what they need, because the business isn't doing the right things that they need to do to take care of people. So it's this kind of accidental.
Do you have any
awful?
If somebody comes to you and they're upset or they feel like they've been mistreated, do you have any phrases or any, like, how do you, like, very like tangible ways to approach it that somebody else can adopt?
Yeah. So the framework that I use is ROIS, I think. So relationship building language is the R. And so that is building on the relationship. So that is, right. Oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that you experienced that. Whether it's true or not, their perception is that that's what they experienced. Facts don't matter in stuff like this. It's like being in a relationship. Do you want to be right, or do you want to have a good relationship? And so you have to pick your battles.
The way that I've always voiced that is, it might not be our fault, but it's our problem.
Exactly, 100%. And so showing empathy and letting them know that you're on the same team. So I'm so sorry that happened. That's not what I want for you. I need you to tell me more so I can figure out how to help you fix it, or how I can take care of you better. And then after you get more information, taking ownership if you did mess up. That above all else, oh my God, has always been such a big help. We did drop the ball. That doesn't feel good, and I'm sorry that happened to you, and we're going to fix it. But for now,
which is
here's
going to
what
happen.
we're going to do.
Which is going to happen,
100%.
right?
Yep, 100%. And then inform what the next steps are. So based on the situation, here's what I see going forward. How does that sound, right? Would that feel in line with what you need right now?
Well, let's give a real world example. What was somebody posted in the Facebook group for the Online Trainer Academy this morning that they were upset with the coaching upgrade that they were participating in for the Online Trainer Academy, which is like, I think this is the first time in running that for how many years have we run that coaching upgrade? 3, 4, 5 years that I've ever heard anybody say that they weren't happy with the service. So I was a little bit surprised by it, but, and they posted like in our public group so that other people are seeing it too. Right. And so it's not a combative thing. It's not a delete the comment. Like that's just going to make it worse. It's not a combative, like you're wrong. But we didn't have, when I saw it, I don't know if you've spoken to them yet. I know you reached out to them to get more information, but I just responded that I was really, really sorry. I know Emma's going to speak to you. I'm going to get all the information from her, and whatever happened, we're going to make sure is solved and doesn't happen to anybody else. And I'm really, really sorry that we've let you down.
That was the best part to me when you apologized and said you didn't say, I guess you said verbatim, we let you just. I feel like you said, I'm sorry, I let you down. And I thought that was really important. The specific way that you phrased it also assumed a lot of accountability for it. It wasn't like my company did this or the Online Trainer Academy did this. It was, you were like, I'm sorry that I let you down. And I've learned so much from how you guys respond publicly to public complaint.
Yeah,
it's not
it's
just
going to
that
happen.
person that we're responding to, and that's the thing is that either we've dropped the ball somewhere with setting expectations, or miscommunicating something somewhere along the line, or even that approach. Now, when anybody sees that, they'll see how we respond when shit hits the fan, and a company that will take care of you if and when something does happen will have better loyalty than a business that never messes up.
And it's ridiculous to think that a company will never mess up in the eyes of their customers. That a company will never mess up, but also a company will never mess up in the eyes of their customers. We have tens of thousands of customers every year. There's no way that you're going to have every customer who's going to say, I was treated exactly how with my own bias, my own background. We have tens of thousands of customers in over 100 countries every year. There are so many different societal norms. There's so many different communication preferences. There's so many different expectations, biases, starting points, whatever. It is a sheer impossibility to think that you're going to be at a 9 or 10 out of 10 with every single experience. You can try, 100%, but it's just not going to happen. And anybody doing business with a company knows that. Like it's not going to happen. It's not possible. Read up the best example of this is read the reviews for Harry Potter. Read the 1 and 2 star reviews for Harry Potter books. Like there's 10,000 1 and 2 star reviews. It just doesn't happen. Basically, what I'm saying is we're the Harry Potter of online fitness. That's what I'm saying.
Team Hufflepuff.
Really? Hufflepuff was so completely irrelevant in those type books. It was just like, well, we kind of need 4 of these because that's just going to even out the room. So let's just throw this one in. Oh, it sounds funny. Okay, let's just put this funny sounding name because then people won't realize that it is completely thrown in for absolutely no other reason.
We're just the dependable people in your life that support others that do other things.
Yeah, fair enough. Let me ask you a question. Are you breathing fast or slow right now? Did you just think about your breath? So consider what just happened to your awareness. With words that I said on a podcast, I just changed your physiology. We're not talking. We're not even in the same room right now. We might not even be in the same country. I don't know what just happened when, but now there's static on your mic. Questions have the power to shift focus while allowing a person to maintain a feeling of autonomy. We want to feel like we're in the driver's seat for our lives. When you're asking for somebody to buy or asking them to make a change, maybe it's a big one or maybe it's a small one, but it's a change nonetheless, isn't it? And all change involves ambivalence. We don't like to be told what to do. The obvious choice dances with ambivalence. The more autonomy you can give to a potential customer, the more likely they'll buy and do what you say. So you got to ask, don't tell. Think about the difference between these two statements. The first statement is this. In my mentorship, we help you become one of the most successful people in the industry by showing you what they're doing and you're not. Versus the second statement. People ask me what the mentorship is about. I always respond with this challenging question. Do you ever wonder what the most successful people in this industry know that you don't? Like, what the heck are they doing that you're not? Both statements say the same thing. The first is my words, and the second invites the receiver to tune into their internal dialogue. I don't know why they think they're not successful. I can guess, but I don't need to. Because I know that I can help, but in order for that to happen, I first need to create tension in their mind by shifting their awareness to their unique version of the situation. Good questions don't create tension, they illuminate it. You aren't the cause of their pain, but you can be the solution. Tension, though, is required for change. Asking for a sale isn't just asking for money, it's also asking the person to change in belief systems, consumption habits, or daily patterns. If you're being told that you're too expensive, the odds are that you're not. Money is rarely the real objection. The cheapest item in the world is too expensive if the value isn't communicated well. The real objection is most often an unwillingness to change stemming from a lack of tension. My background's coaching. But over the last 13 years, I've studied and performed a lot of sales. Phone sales, paid advertisements, direct mail, social media, email, everything in between. Our company's generated millions of dollars in profit from these things. And in that time, one thing has become clear. Selling is coaching, and the best coaching is consultative. Let your customer play a role in creating their plan. Not only are they not stupid, but they want a challenge. If it's their plan, they'll view following it as a challenge to overcome. On the other hand, if you dictate to them what they need to do, they'll often view it as a threat, not a challenge, and retreat. Dr. Albert Bandura, a psychologist from Stanford University, calls this self-efficacy. The actual tasks could be the same in both scenarios. They built it versus you built it. The difference is in how they view them, though. One is a challenge, the other is a threat. One gets done, the other doesn't. Magic words don't sell. Curious and confident skepticism sells. When we buy, we all want the illusion of autonomy, that we're the boss of ourselves. Buying your thing has to be their decision. Thoughts? Responses? I'm going to get into the bed and nails paradox after this, but
I just had a conversation with a student about this, and everybody has their kind of bent on sales, and so for me, it's similar to sex. If it's not an enthusiastic yes, the answer is no, and we need to revisit what. You
and I have very different approaches to the subject.
Yes, I know. Well, that's my point, though, right? Is that? But I feel like it does tie in. I mean,
I'm just glad I was here for this.
It's an enthusiastic yes, right? That's what it should feel like by the end of the sales call.
I guess the difference between you and me is that it is always an enthusiastic yes. What was the analogy that you gave the other day? It's just like, it was from a guy's point of view, they're like in a desert where even a drop of water is the best thing, whereas women live in like a what was that analogy? Do you remember?
I can't remember, but I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the wording.
It was a previous episode. Was women exist in like a like a swampy desert
swamp.
where it's just like
Yeah.
get this off of me.
Yes, exactly. Pretty much.
Oh,
I think it was about
poor
online dating. I don't think that was about sex. I think that was about online dating. It's still funny.
I feel like she knew
yeah,
that
same thing.
statement would be hijacked by her
Yes.
co-host.
Yeah.
No
But
way.
I was hesitant to bring it up, but it's a well-known like phrase, an enthusiastic yes. So consent,
Right.
yes, is important in sex
True.
and in sales.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yes, our official
But if they
statement
don't
on the Sophia's
feel-
Choice podcast is that consent in sex is very important.
Yes. There's no arguments there. But like that's how they should be feeling by the end of the sales call. It's an enthusiastic yes, take all my money. If it's not that feeling by the end of it, then we need to see where we went wrong on the sales call.
Right.
I agree.
Thank you, Anne. So the retired basketball player, Shaquille O'Neal, the big nasty, asked fans one time to name his new boat in a Facebook post. Did you see this, Ren?
I did not see this.
The top reply was, "Call it free throw so you won't ever sink it."
I wish I had said that. That's genius.
Hilarious. Shaq did not have a well-rounded basketball game, for anybody who doesn't know.
Did not.
He was one of the worst free throw shooters in history. He shot a career 52.7% from the line. But it didn't matter. He's in the Hall of Fame because of how dominant he was in the paint. There's this famous parlor trick is to lie down on a bed of nails. Enjoy the gasps of onlookers who think that the nails will pierce your skin and then bask in applause as you stand up unscathed. But there's nothing magical about lying down on a bed of nails. It simply demonstrates the principles of pressure, the application of force over a particular area. If you step on a singular nail, it goes straight through your foot. This is because all of your force, your weight, is concentrated on a tiny area of skin that it makes contact with. A bed of nails, on the other hand, distributes that same amount of force over such a large surface area that the nails don't break the skin. Powerful communication focuses on a single nail. Most of us are convinced that the more benefits that we suggest, the more appealing our thing. More isn't better, though. Each new element in your marketing diffuses the power of the others. When I wrote this, I was reminded of a time when a friend came over and the visit turned into a full-on business consult. So basically what happened was that this dude was working for a gym for years, and he finally set up his own youth strength conditioning facility, and it wasn't going well. And so I knew that he needed his thing. He needed his single nail. And so I asked him to talk me through his client sessions. Just trying to figure out something, right? To my surprise, there wasn't a single treadmill or piece of cardio equipment involved. Not in the whole thing. And here's what he said when I asked him if this was normal. He said, "These athletes are busy, man. They're kids. They have school. They want to hang out with their friends. I have these kids 2 to 3 times a week. There's no guarantee they're going to do the workouts on their own, especially if it's steady state cardio. Not only that, but overuse injuries from long distance running are a big problem in youth sports. If we do all the skills and strength work we need at the right place, the kids will get a cardio training effect. Everybody knows that, though." So within 85 words, this guy described the problem, kids are busy, the pain, kids want to be kids and hang out with their friends, the pain for the parents who pay the bills, which is injury avoidance, and then the solution, which is pacing the workouts to also get a cardio benefit. His nail, incorporating cardio into the workouts, is one of the many things that he does. But the next step for him is to brand it as his own with 2 steps. Okay? You got to give it a unique name. And then you've got to create content highlighting the problems with other workouts and how his proprietary system solves them. There were 4 damaging words at the end of that answer. Did you catch them, Ren?
I did not. Proprietary, his workouts solve the problem.
At the end of his answer. Did you catch it?
Oh.
He said, "Everybody knows that, though." This guy passed it off as common knowledge. And it is. Amongst his fellow coaches.
Right.
Berardi passed on a tool to me called the fog filter years ago. and it forces you to question whether your statement is a fact, an opinion, or a guess. Our first instinct is to assume that everything's a fact, but then you have to ask, who's everybody? If you're talking about the people in your immediate circle and the ones you turn to when you want high-level information, yeah, of course they know. But do the parents of youth athletes know? I doubt it. Bulletproof Upgraded Coffee claims that their bulletproof process removes all mycotoxins, which are a fungi that likely cause inflammation, fatigue, possibly cancer, like nasty stuff. And I'm sure it's true that they remove it. But you want to know what else is true? All commercially imported coffee in every developed country has removed this stuff for at least 40 years. In a book called Coffee Physiology, which was published in 1988, decades before Bulletproof's upgraded coffee hit the market.
It's a thing?
Coffee Physiology? Coffee Physiology is fascinating, man.
What?
Read a book called The Monk of Mocha. It's by Dave Eggers. Talks about coffee rating systems, coffee sommeliers, talks about ethically sourced coffee. Really, really well done book. If you're interested in coffee. If you're not interested in coffee, maybe not. I like Eggers. It's one of my favorite authors. Anyway, in this book, the authors wrote, mycotoxins have sometimes been associated with coffee. Here again, their importance should not be dramatized, as they do not present an undue toxicological hazard with the good manufacturing processes or practices normally encountered in coffee production. This book was written in 1988. This was decades before Bulletproof existed. Before Asprey went on some pilgrimage and found a yak and yak butter or whatever fucking dumb shit, bullshit story that he gives. Everybody in the coffee industry knew how nasty mycotoxins were. They also knew that their process already removed it. The public didn't know this, though. Bulletproof recognized the marketability of this asymmetry and made it their nail. Being surrounded by people who think like us can trick us into thinking that what we do isn't special. To people like you, it's not. The people buying aren't like you, though. You are too close to your own thing. So this brings me into the little couple word difference. There's a small word change that makes a big difference. The worst thing somebody can think when you're describing what you do is "so what?" But there's an easy trick. Moving forward, whenever you mention a feature, add a "so that" statement connecting it with a benefit. Super, super simple. Here's a few examples. We offer 7 gigabytes of data so that you can post videos of your adventure abroad for your friends at home. We offer Fast 5 programming to your kids so that they avoid injury, get a great workout, and dominate the playing field. Our blender has a powerful 1,560 watt motor so that you can crush ice and make a delicious and nutritious cold smoothie that your kids will love. In every case, you've taken a nice sounding yet relatively common, mundane, and otherwise meaningless feature and presented it as a valuable benefit to a specific person making their choice of who to buy from. Well, drum roll, please. Obvious.
Bazinga!
Whammy!
Waka waka! Whammy!
That's what I say.
Easily my favorite part of that movie.
That's what I say when things go well. Whammy!
Whammy! Easily my favorite part of that film. Go out and watch
So
Anchorman. It'll brighten your day, people.
So good. Stop listening to this podcast. Go watch Anchorman. It's way better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, I just noticed on Spotify that we are 1 review away from 100 reviews.
Really?
So if you're listening to this on Spotify, I have a request of you. Please you've got to go to so if you're listening to an episode, you've got to click on the title of the show, the obvious choice. It'll take you to like the general page for the show and scroll all the way up. You'll see a rating and a star. Right now we're at 4.8 stars. And please tap that and give us 5 stars. Even if we're already at 100 reviews, like just keep going, you know what I'm saying? And just tap it. I'd really, really appreciate that. I don't know, anything you guys want to add? Should I recommend another episode or we can chat about this a bit more?
I think
doesn't
it's a
sound
good
like
place
it.
to end.
All right.
Yep.
Let's oh geez, what episode should we talk about? Let's do this. Episode 127 I'm going to recommend you check out after this one. I really like this episode. It's called The Leapfrog Effect for Better Focus. People always tell you that you need to focus. They say, you need to focus. Focus is the secret to success. Focus on one thing. But how do you focus? How do you decide what to focus on? How are you okay when you're focusing on one thing to not be doing another thing at that time, knowing that that other thing might be as important as what you're focusing on? And so I gave it a name, because when you give somebody a name, you give it your own brand. So I gave it a name and I called it Leapfrog Effect, but I've built a system to allow me to work in effectively sprints over time. I found that I can't actively work on more than really one thing at any one time. I can put stuff on autopilot, but I can't really push something forward and put a lot of work and effort into something that's dedicated more than one thing really at any given time. And so I work in sprints, and I'll talk to you about that in that episode. And it's something that I know a lot of other people have adopted to great effect. So that's episode 127, The Leapfrog Effect for Better Focus. Rancel, Amber, thanks for being such great active listeners.
You're welcome, John.
Whammy.
Whammy.
JGWFGGHWWTG acronym is out, my friend.